Hello everybody and welcome to another OgreCast. I'm Ogre and I'm going to be your host for this game of StarCraft 2 between Decimation and Shadowsbane. Shadowsbane has sent me a couple games of his lately, and he's been actually playing very well in those couple games that he's shown me. Of course, if he's anything like me, he doesn't really want to send you the games where he plays badly, so but anyways, in the last game I cast of his usage, like his micro and everything like that, and the usage of his units around the map was really solid. So I'm going to show another one of his games. I've actually seen this one before, so I know how it pans out. And he sent me some notes on the game, what he was thinking and things like that. But he's up against Decimation, who apparently, well, admittedly, they talk about it right here. Decimation doesn't play a whole lot of 1v1, and his inexperience ends up showing here, and Shadowsbane really takes advantage of it throughout the game. Now I'm just going to speed up the start here. Shadowsbane gets up his gateway and then sends his probe out, which is a fairly standard way. If you know you're against Terran, you got to get in past the wall off here. So you want to send an earlier probe than you would probably against Zerg, although, well, certainly against another Protoss. A little bit later scout is better. Against Zerg, if you're worried about a 6 pool, if you might have trouble holding that off with your build or something like that, then it's good to send out an early scout, but kind of a little bit delayed scout will show you if he's going kind of banelings or roaches or things like that. So the thing about Terran is that you just got to get in through this wall off if you want your probe to see anything interesting. But it looks like Decimation is going to get his second supply depot down to wall that off nicely. This probe is not going to be able to make it through. He's going to attack that supply depot. Now that's going to take a long time to go through. I'd be attacking this SCV right here if I were him. But yeah, he's really close to losing that probe. Now that you got to be paying attention when you're up against Marines, because they can pick you off. There's always fairly often going to be one Marine coming out at the start there, just to kind of deny early zealot or something like that pressure. So looks like we've got a second gateway, another pylon. Really good timing for that pylon, getting it down 25 out of 26. He was chrono boosting probes. Let's take a look at the units tab here. Yeah, we've got 23 probes to 16 SCVs. So right there you can tell that Decimation is not overly experienced. Like, somebody who falls that behind in the worker count early on in the game is really going to suffer later on. So most people have learned to constantly build workers, and another advantage to that, if you're constantly building workers, you can kind of time your build by it, whereas if you're intermittently building, like look at that, queuing things up and that, it's really hard to get the timing of what you're building down. And that's something I learned, over time, is that, if you're just building things kind of with no build order to them, you're gonna get kind of confused, and you're not gonna maximize the potential of how many units you can get out and how fast. Shadowsbane is sending forward a couple of stalkers to do a bit of scouting. It's good to send stalkers forward because they can outrange and hit the supply depots. If you got to lower the supply depot and specifically send these guys out to defend it, otherwise you're going to lose them. And losing supply depots early on, if you get supply blocked, that's actually a fairly major setback in the early game. And looks like that is going to burn down. And as you can see, he's supply blocked by 4. He's got to get 2 supply depots up right now, and it's really forcing his hand. Shadowsbane doesn't need to push his luck. He's seen what he wanted to see, and that was that Marauders are coming out. There's a siege tank up now. Let's take a look. Yeah, siege tech is being researched, so it's definitely a good move when you got stalkers knocking at your door. But look at the worker count again: 34 probes to 22 SCVs. Really good production there by Shadowsbane. And like as you can see, Shadowsbane is not queuing up probes. He's building them. Oh, there, he queued up 2 there. But generally, he just keeps on top of his probe production, not wasting too much time in the queue. 300 and some minerals saved up. Looks maybe he's saving up for an expansion here. Now he wants to knock these rocks down to prevent any kind of siege tank drops right up on this ledge here. So let's take a look. Yeah, we got a starport with a reactor up, so you know that you could be targeted by some medevac. Obviously, fairly sure Shadowsbane hasn't scouted that because he hasn't even been through the front here. No, he hasn't seen anything like that. But on Kulos Ravine, that you really want to break down those rocks at your prerogative. Like, you don't want somebody to surprise you by knocking those rocks down. And if they can get siege tanks right here and Marines and Marauders to shoot down those rocks, that can be a really powerful position. Now, looks like, and Shadowsbane is getting out the Colossus. He's should be chrono boosting. He's clicked on the thermal lance. So you're going to be getting the Colossus with the range upgrade, which is, as he says, way more important than the second Colossus. The range upgrade is what makes the Colossus good. If it doesn't have that range upgrade, it just gets focused down. I mean, you know, that big honking thing is the easiest target in the world. And if it's got to stand, you know, within a Marine's range to hit the bile ball that Terran is famous for, yeah, you just stim up. You can take down a Colossus in 3 seconds, you know what I mean? So, you got to get that range upgrade as fast as you possibly can. Look at the oversaturation of probes here. There's got to be a Nexus going down. I'm sure there's going to be one coming up soon. Now, let's check out the production tab. More Marauders, Siege Tanks, Marines. You know, pretty predictable play up here. And the army size is actually pretty much the same, and this is why we got 3 medevacs filled with army there. So I kind of lost sight of them. I didn't see them going in there. Thought I might be mistaken. Now, good positioning of the stalkers here. Let's take a look at Shadowsbane's perspective. He spots a medevac going up. He's got this Nexus gone down, which is good. Now this drop's going to go down. He's going to have to cancel that because they'll kill that real quick. Let's hope he cancels it. Cancel. No, he's not. It's not being focused down by the Marine, by all these units, and that's going to be a major loss for Decimation there. Decimation? Yeah, that's right. Forgot his name for a second. And amazingly, Shadowsbane didn't even have to cancel that. Now, Decimation should have just polished that off as fast as possible, but he didn't. And now there's going to be a major push, lots of stalkers, and, you know, I guess I don't know why he's leaving those units back, but a stalker push across the field really could do with that Colossus that's sitting there to join him. But he has 1 Colossus with him, and I guess he's going to stroll around the map, make sure, before he attacks the main base, make sure there's no expansions all over the place, and check out what he's got producing here. Yeah, he's going to go through the rocks, the back door. He knows there's a wall off up there, which, because of the siege tanks, they still outrange for... I believe they still outrange the Colossus. Which, range 9 on the Colossus, and on the siege tanks we got range 13. Yeah, so they still far outrange the Colossus, which means he could not be taking out that front door even with his range. So you got to get them up on the high ground, and Decimation does not have any spotting of the high ground right now. He hasn't taken out his rocks, and it's really putting him in a bad position. This is good map usage for Shadowsbane. Decimation is just gonna, he's changing this command center into an orbital command before he flies it up there. But yeah, if we look at the army tab, we got a major advantage in army for Shadowsbane. Now, it's not as huge as it could be, given the probe to SCV advantage. Now, you would expect him to have a huge advantage in the army size, but he really only needs these colossi. He's using them to their maximum potential. Well, okay, just as I say that, he's got two sitting there doing nothing because of this drop. Okay, yeah, he had a drop at his base, and let's just wind that back for a sec. Now, just as he was going up for these rocks here, this medevac is going to fly down with a drop full of units, and that is what's going to distract Shadowsbane from having the proper micro on his troops there. And he warned me, actually. I forgot, but he did say I look like a retard when I am attacking at the front base, but that's because, oops, that's because I had to micro my troops around this drop at the end. So he takes out a lot of probes before it's noticed, and that's, as we know, because this attack is going on here. Three stalkers or something going up. He's got 4 just sitting down there. He is trying to do a lot at the same time, and his micro is suffering a little bit. Now he gets all of his stalkers up there. That's going to be enough. They are not upgraded at all versus unupgraded Marines and Marauders. Now, so at the end, you know, he just walks in with his colossi and his stalkers here, and it was a really split force there. Really, the unit production could have probably gone better for Shadowsbane. He's got 900 minerals saved up. With all these warp gates, he could have been warping in some zealots and things like that, but he's not the hugest fan of zealots, I guess. He really likes the stalkers. He likes colossi. Now, there's a few straggling siege tanks here. They do some damage, but they just can't take on this many units. And Shadowsbane with the GG before Decimation says it. I guess he's trying to hint at him or something like that. Oh, Decimation, hey, where did my stuff go? Like, wait, you didn't notice? You didn't notice you were being destroyed at the back door. But anyways, so pretty good game, good use of the Colossus, but Decimation, quite the inferior opponent. Really could have had a bit crisper of a game from Shadowsbane, but specifically, you know, getting those Colossi and Blink, or the Stalkers as well, it's a good troop choice, especially for Kulas Ravine here, and being able to use the Colossi up on the ridges to get view on ridges as well, even when you're not up on top of them. Really a huge advantage on this map. So good game for Shadowsbane, and he managed to defeat an inferior opponent. Okay, thanks for listening.